them. There's also some questions on there and things. And so we're not done yet, though. No, I just memorized them. Sorry, I guess I could. Let's see what it would be. NPFDAW. Now plant ferns. Dawn awakens wisdom, or something like that. It'd be like the first letters, you know. Anyway. Having our worldview dissonances pointed out is very uncomfortable sometimes, unless you have just learned that there's different worldviews and that sometimes there are dissonances. So you're probably not that uncomfortable right now if you have a dissonance. But for somebody who has not really understood these bits of knowledge that you've had sprinkled on your brains today, it can be very uncomfortable. But it's also healthy, because without understanding worldviews, we're left to ignore them, ignore the dissonances, or to flail about trying to explain them away. There has been occasion where I've seen different famous people question about what they believe. And has anybody seen the movie Expelled? You know, it was done by a gentleman named Ben Stein, and he interviewed another gentleman named Richard Dawkins. And he asked Dawkins if he believed that God existed, and Dawkins said, no. And he said, well, it really looks like, and especially because of what science is showing right now, that there was a design in how our bodies were built. And Dawkins said, well, there might have been a designer. And he said, but not a God? No, not a God. And so Dawkins seemed to say, well, he seemed to be encountering his own dissonance. He was very uncomfortable. I don't know if Ben Stein was a very nice guy for doing that on film. But it was interesting to watch, because Dawkins was realizing there was evidence against what he believed, and so he had to flail about, and he gave the credit for human design to maybe aliens from another planet. So it was interesting to watch, just say that. We would have no conflict if we would just study and think. If we actually would sit down and write out what we believe, and then question our own beliefs, then maybe we would be able to come to conclusions. If we would do a little bit of research, then we would be much healthier mentally, because coming into different situations, you're confident in what you believe. And you don't have to be defensive when somebody begins pointing out a dissonance in your own worldviews. Also, you're much more tactful with people. You can have a conversation with anybody when you have this understanding that they can have a different belief than I do, and you will treat them with respect and not be surprised. You know, if somebody says, well, this may sound strange to you, but the other day I cast out a demon. And then you go, whoa, but there are no demons. And you can say, oh, they have a different worldview than I do. Or somebody comes up to you and says, are you serious that you're in a witch school? And I don't know, maybe some of you are witches, maybe not, but you're allowed to be here, whatever. We would have no conflict if we would just study and think. This is interesting. This is the time use on average workday for an employed person ages 25 to 54 with children. And this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So they're reputable. Eating and drinking, which is necessary, is about 1.1 hours a day. Household activities, 1.1 hours. Caring for others, 1.2 hours. We do other things, 1.7 hours, you know, like clipping our fingernails and all kinds of stuff like that. Sleeping, 7.6 hours. We spend most time working and related things to working, like getting to work and back and that sort of thing. 8.7 hours a day doing that. Then we have 2.6 hours of leisure and sports in America. So some of these things can be changed around so we have more time for study. Like you notice there is no wedge that says time that this person or these people spent studying what they believe. And so I think that the one that would be the easiest to cut out would be a little bit of the leisure and sports. It could still be called leisure and sports because it's very fun to learn, I know that because we've all gone to these weird public schools that maybe we've learned that it's not very fun to learn because of the learning style that we were, anyway. I didn't have a very good time in school, so I'm a little bit bitter. I got a lot of F's and D's, and, but I was in honors classes. Why didn't they take me out of honors classes? My mom had a pretty good explanation for that. And should I share that? Yeah. I was in special reading in 3rd grade because my mom decided that art was very important. And so this is just my understanding. I hope that she would agree with me. I think she's going to be watching this video. So if I didn't want to do homework and learn properly, I decided I would just ask her if I could draw. So I'm a really good artist right now, but it took me a while to catch up with everybody else in school because I didn't really know how to read very well. So I was in special reading in 3rd grade. In 5th grade, though, I read a nice big book because it was interesting, and I moved from Why the Elephant's Skin is Wrinkly to Old Ironsides, which is a huge difference in the width of a book in 1 year, and so that was delightful for me. I read some Boxcar Children and some Redwall series, and I learned how to read, so that was very beneficial because I like reading a lot now. And I began to study, and now, very different from when I was a kid, I love learning. I actually prefer self-motivated learning over like a set course in school where they might take you somewhere that you don't really care about for a little while. Instead, now it's like you're climbing up a tree. Which branch do I want to go on? They're all exciting. And that one has fruit, you know. So we spend just over a month watching TV each year. That's what the statistic says. I mean, we spend like 3 months asleep, but a month watching TV. You need sleep. I'm not going to say throw away some sleep so you can stay. I'm going to say watch a little bit less TV so you can sleep. So guys, it is decision time. Now, this is not a scary thing, so take a deep breath. I'm not going to like make you stand up and scream your worldview in front one by one up here or anything like that. But decision time today just means that I'm asking you please to care about what you think or what you believe. Will you make that decision? Like, don't just go through life and exist. And when you start thinking about what you believe and you come across maybe a dissonance, you turn on the TV to ignore it. I'm not saying the TV is the only thing that we do to try to distract ourselves. There's lots of things. A while back, I heard a message called Tylenol. And it was all about the things that we do to kind of numb ourselves so that we don't have to think about what we believe. It was interesting. And there's lots of different kinds of things. But if you take a little bit less of the time that you spend and add a little bit more time to the time that you are thinking about what you believe, that would make me very happy, but it would also make you very happy. It will bring joy to your life. Now, I'm not saying just go down and like, I'm just deciding, I don't even know anything about it. I don't even care. It's pantheism. That's what I'm going to be. And then you start, yeah, that's just what I believe. Now, I'm not saying just pick something arbitrarily. I'm saying look into it. I'm going to be giving you a lot of interesting information in the rest of these lectures. This is number 2 right now. 3 is in probably a few minutes or so. This is a very short lecture so that we could have time to talk and mingle and stuff like that. And I think there's a little bit of refreshments back there. But come to the rest of these lectures at least, because I will not steer you wrong. I'm not here to force you into my worldview. I do have a worldview, and it is one of those 6 worldviews, and I believe it is the right worldview. Last night we addressed the interesting topic of the idea of absolute truth. That's the idea that there is not just one way, it was the idea that there's not many ways that the world happened, but instead that there is a single line from the beginning to the end of how things happen. People have different views of what that is, and they see different pieces of evidence that lead them to different conclusions, but there's just one way that it actually happened. And so it's our privilege to try to understand what that actually is. And that's what I'm asking you to do in this little decision time. So, the next lecture in a few minutes at, was it 11:15? Yeah? 11:30 is called Testing the Oracle, so you can take a break. Please don't wander so far off that you don't come back. But we're going to look at all of these different sources of prophecy. People who say, I know how to tell the future.